Happy New Year and welcome to Another Thing. I'm Larry Menti. Maybe one of your New Year's resolutions is to lose weight, live healthier. But what's the best way to do that? There's so much information out there, and almost every week we hear about a new food study that contradicts something we thought was solid fact. It seems like the more we read, the less clear it becomes what to eat and what to stay away from. For instance, for a long time, experts said coconut oil was bad for you. Now some say it's not. Fat makes you fat. No, wait, that's carbs that make you fat. Coffee's good for you. No, it's bad. Or wait, is that red wine? We're going to help you figure out how to wade through all of those contradictions. But first, we hear from Ellen Kaloje on how families are dealing with the often shifting research about what's good to eat and what's bad. Ellen.
Thank you, Larry. There is so much conflicting information out there about food that it's sometimes hard to know how to stock your kitchen. First, we're told butter is bad. Now it's okay. Then we're told that eggs are a no-no. Now a few are just fine. So how's a family to know what's right or wrong?
I heard that butter's not very good for you. Well, too much. And I also heard that like pure sugar, because I like to put sugar on my toast, and I heard that that's not good either.
Some foods are good during the day, but then there gets to like a certain point at night where you just shouldn't eat them.
Like what?
Like anything with carbohydrates after like 6 o'clock or 7.
I also heard that pretty much anything like white, as in bread and stuff, that's not very good either.
The Pompilio children have heard so many things about what foods are good and what's not so good. And all the rules make their moms' head spin.
When I go shopping, I read label after label after label. I'll have the white bread, I'll have the whole wheat bread. I'm comparing this one, comparing that one. It makes you crazy.
It's especially frustrating when all the research keeps changing and so many studies contradict each other.
I was always taught that egg yolks were the demise of your cholesterol. So it was always egg whites. Only to learn down the line that egg yolks were supposed to be okay. So then I kind of put them in a little bit.
Apparently, he's right for now. A new study by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition says men who ate high amounts of saturated fat and few carbohydrates became thinner and healthier. And a book called The Big Fat Surprise disputes every major food study since the 1960s. And that's why so many families, like the Pompilios, struggle to keep up with everything.
I try not to get too caught up in all the different studies that come out because they do change all the time. And so, again, I go back to everything in moderation. So if they say that butter is bad for you, I'm only doing it moderately, so I don't cut it out completely. And then they turn around and say, okay, well, butter's okay for you. Well, I haven't really changed.
So a lot of the experts do agree that that whole fat-free craze back in the 90s has done nothing but make a lot of Americans fatter. And that's why books like this one are advocating eating better fats to make you thin. But then again, this book could be obsolete in about a month. Reporting for Another Thing, I'm Ellen Kaloje.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Let's continue our conversation now on who do you believe when it comes to what is right for your diet? How do you lose weight? What keeps you healthy? Mandy Enright is a registered dietitian and nutritionist with the New Jersey Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Larry.
So there's a new study coming out every day, and I know this because I've worked in TV news for so long, and these are very popular. How do you sort through what is worthwhile, what is fact, and what is fiction?
It all comes down to, first of all, what are people talking about? And then we really have to go back to the source and see, what did the study actually say?
But there's been famous studies that we have found out years later were corrupted by money that the sugar industry paid for or some other industry paid for. How are you able to distinguish when it comes to that?
What did the study itself actually entail? And yes, maybe it was funded by a particular company, but what was their hypothesis? What was their end goal to get to in that study?
But I would imagine that there's so much money involved. With someone like you who has to sort through this thing, it can be an impossible task.
It can be, and remember that science is ongoing, so one study may come out that maybe can be shown to not have been maybe as factual as it intended to be. And as far as sorting through it, I mean, it really just comes down to looking at what is it that we're eating overall. At the end of the day, we want to focus on what's the right things that we should be eating. And maybe it's not quite as newsworthy or eye-grabbing, but at the end of the day, these are the things that we should be eating.
Well, let's run through then. Let's do what you believe is important, what people should be eating, and maybe they're not focusing on.
Right. So good old-fashioned fruits and vegetables. Again, like I said, we're just not eating enough of them. You've seen probably the My Plate guideline that shows that we should be eating about half a plate's worth of fruit and vegetables at most of our meals. Most people at best maybe get 1 or 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, where you hear a lot of emphasis put on I should be eating a lot more protein, I should be eating high protein foods. Really, you only need about as your plate, a quarter of a plate worth of protein. And, whole grains, we tend to demonize carbohydrates as the worst possible item out there. Whole grains have a lot of health benefits to them. They have fiber. They help with helping maintain the nice, healthy immune system and gut function. And yet we're not putting the emphasis on them because maybe it's not as sexy as saying what you shouldn't be eating.
Right, but there's another part of this, which are the fad diets.
Yes.
And so the no carbs, that's the Atkins diet and the South Beach diet. And all of these diets come out because people want to lose weight so much. There's probably simpler ways.
Right. Well, the reason that these come out is not that people want to lose weight. People want to lose weight quickly, and that's where these types of diets come in, because everybody wants to know what is the fastest way I can get to my weight loss goals. But what happens is we can't maintain our weight loss over time because they're diets, and the diet is something that's temporary. It's not changing your behavior. It's not changing your lifestyle. Over time, people start to feel deprived.
Eggs and cholesterol. Used to be, didn't want to have a lot of eggs. Now they're saying eggs aren't that bad for you. What's the truth?
So the truth is that they are finding that dietary cholesterol overall is not being connected to the cholesterol that forms in our blood. What we are finding is very healthy sources of fats, sources of vitamin D, and these are things that we're not getting.
How about organic? Everything is organic these days. It's much healthier for you, we're told, because you can avoid hormones, you can avoid chemicals. Is it healthier?
Nutritionally, an organic product is no more or less nutritionally superior than a conventional product.
But organic can help you to avoid, if you were worried about it, pesticides and hormones and things like that.
Well, with organics, I mean, they do tend to have very strict regulations on what you can use in your production.
You can't get fooled by the word natural. You can't get fooled by, there's certain words that you can use to make it seem like it's healthier when there actually are no regulations for those words.
Exactly. So there's a lot of nebulous words out there. Natural is a great one because there really is no definition for what's considered a natural food.
We're running out of time. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but let's get one big topic now, GMOs.
Yes.
There's a movement against it, and saying that we haven't done enough study on GMOs at this point. You should try to avoid them. Is that the case?
We need to become more educated on GMOs and what a GMO actually is. I think there's a lot of misconceptions that anything that comes in a packaged good is somehow modified in a way that's going to be harmful to us. The reality is there are way more people on this planet than there is food that can be produced, and we need to figure out a way that we're going to be able to accommodate people.
That's fascinating. There's so much to talk to you about. Is there a place where people can go to get some valid information on all of this and try to get through what's true and not true?
Sure. So for credible nutrition sources, I highly recommend you can check out the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website, which is eatright.org. Here locally in New Jersey, you can look at the New Jersey Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is eatrightnj.org. And definitely, all that information has all been backed by evidence-based science.
Mandy, thank you so much. It was great information. Mandy Enright with the New Jersey Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Still to come, what happens when you go to the hospital and you get even sicker? Dealing with hospital infections when Another Thing continues.